the weirdest thing. Weird. Okay. Weird. Okay, I guess that's how we're starting off the day. We're starting off weird. I've never had this issue before, but for some reason, when I toggle back and forth between recording scenes in OBS, it is resizing my main monitor. So why not? Why not? Not like it could be any weirder than the weird stuff been happening lately. So, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, April 19th, 2017. We're going to jump right into this today. I'm probably only going to have about an hour or so that I could stream today. And hopefully I'll actually stick to it this time, as I have a bunch of other stuff I'm doing in the meantime. I wanted to jump into the live stream, the MMO stuff, but I had someone else trying to help yesterday and Monday, so I'm going to quickly knock out some Q&A stuff for what he had an issue with, and we'll go from there. His question was, he wanted to try to recreate something like the old Mario 64 game where you had basic blob shadows and everything. Because he's trying to make a game where you need blob shadows to easily identify where your characters are in the game. Not a problem. Blob shadows aren't native in the engine as far as I know. I saw something about 4.9 and a blob shadow for mobile, but I could never find any more info about it. For the most part, people either use decals or they're going to use a material to work. Now, decals, here's the problem with decals. Here is a decal actor. So this is a blueprint that has a decal component and then using a decal material. The problem is decals generally work for the entire area that they're attached to, unless you have things set to ignore. So this looks fine. If I can click it, I lost it. Great. Oh, because I don't have transparency selection turned on. So here's the decal. It looks fine. The problem is when we move the decal over, so let's say to here, it's not on the ground. It's also encompassing this item in the air. As you can see here, it's on the sides. It's a pain in the butt to work with unless you set it up properly. Now, a material itself, if we have a material that's set up to fake a blob shadow like this that you can see here, we can actually see the regular shadow for this cube is here. You can see it going up and down. And then I have a blob shadow actor assigned under it where we actually use a little circle blob shadow. And if I hit play, our character had a blob shadow. I took it off. I should probably put it back on for our example. Let's see. Here's our... I think I moved it. No, I hit it. That's right. I hit it because I was testing stuff. That's right. Okay. So like our character here has this little blob shadow underneath. And I've kind of modified it a little bit. That's why it looks weird. But you have a blobish shadow. We have something under him that kind of represents... I got to move down properly to the right ratio. Yeah, it represents kind of like a little shadow. And when he moves and jumps, it'll react accordingly. And this little cube here, it's actually using an instance where I can tell it to use a sphere or a cube mask. Like that, you can now see it's a cube. But the point is, it easily lets you know if your character is under things, kind of like a Mario jump block. So the way that works, and this is taken from a thread, is it is a material that the basics of the material is we use the world position behind translucency node. And we use the object position. So the position of the object this material is on. And we get the location. What this is going to basically let us do is only grab the stuff that is on top. And by that, I mean if I grab... Here's my... Oh, that's my coin box. That's not the one we want. Well, technically this is it right here. This little cube right here, if you notice, our shadow shows up on the intersecting part. Is how it's working. So basically it casts a shadow on it. It creates this little shadow effect where it intersects. So if we were to move this, for example, over here, you can see it's casting the shadow where it intersects, like that. So it prevents some of the weird issues, and basically it's wherever this blob is at. That's what these two nodes do. And I gave him this information, so he's got this. So this is kind of just a refresher. I set up a custom one in here, so basically it's either a box or a sphere, because you know you want your coin blocks to look like a box, and you want your sphere to look like a sphere. Traditionally, when you have it on a character, it's a sphere for the blob shadow. That's just traditional. And then I tell it to either use the mask or not, and then we multiply it by 0.5 to give us a little bit better look, and put that into our opacity. And then shadow color is just the color that we want our shadow to be. You know, we could have a custom color if we wanted, for example. And then that's all it does. Now, the way this works is, like I was showing, whatever has this material. So we could grab a cube and drop it into our scene. We can apply the material to the cube, and you'll see we now have our shadow. That shadow shows up basically, and it's kind of hard to see because, well, the stupid material we're on doesn't help. Wherever it intersects with something else is where our shadow is drawn. That's the way it works. So his question was, he wanted the blob shadow to always be there, no matter the distance. So like, for example, if you're falling down, you could easily see where you're going to land on. That wouldn't be too hard. You could just take whatever it's on. So in this case, we should be able to take like, let's see, let's add a cylinder. A cylinder might work, right? We'll grab our cylinder, we'll put the blob material on it, like that. And if it's set up right, we should have, yeah. I need to adjust it. It's set too big right now because I'm using the original. We need to use the instance properly. It's set to be a cube. Here, let's switch that over. Let's change this over to the instance. And let's set our instance to be the sphere, like that. There we go. Yeah, so see, now we have our little sphere. And you'll notice it kind of disappears when we jump because our sphere is moving and stuff like that. If you make your sphere long, and this should work. I've never actually tested it. I guess we're going to find out now. But if you make your sphere long like that, it should stay, assuming I did this right. And obviously I didn't do this right. I think we're intersecting with ourself is the problem. I have a feeling that's what it is. Yeah, let's see. So, yeah. And that's because of the way we have this position set up. I think it needs to be... It's just it's finding the right setting is what it is, and then you could set it up where it will stay there, and you can see it's because you can see where it's encompassing my character right now with the sphere. We'd have to adjust the code. It would be our masks and our multipliers. But the other way I mentioned to do it is if you take your item. So let's say we make this normal like it was, and we put it on the bottom of him. So somewhere around there. And I'm using the instance now. That's why our color changed. Remember we played with our color right here. I should probably set this back to black. There we go. If you set it where every tick, it basically does a line trace down, and it moves this item up and down based on where it's hit. So you keep it basically on the floor. Then you can make it where it's always going to be on the floor. So you just do something probably pretty simple, like a line trace down. Yeah, just do a line trace down, figure out where you hit. If you hit is the ground, then you move the item. So in this case, our cylinder to that location. I just wanted to cover that. He was having a little bit of difficulty understanding how it works, so I wanted to cover it on video. That way I can show him. The key here though, is if you're doing it this way in a material, the item this material on, so like we have it in our character, for example, is on this sphere. Or if you put it in the ground, you'll notice that this little coin block I made is actually consisting of two items. It is a item that we see, and then the item we don't see, which is our shadow. And that's why if we look at it in the scene, we have the item that we see, and then we have the shadow, which is separate, and then you just put the shadow wherever you want to give you your shadow. I just wanted to cover that for him to try to help him out. I want to know how to make a material that changes the translucency of meshes when the character is in front of it, like in Diablo 3 Lineage. that's something a little more complex than stuff I've worked with. However, there is a very good series by Unreal, by Epic, where he covers this. And I wish I could remember the name of it. Let's see, Epic. Let's go with UE4. Yeah, but there's a very good. I'll probably have to go to the YouTube. And then find it. But yes, I want to say it was Alan Noon who did it, and it was a really good video covering transparency. And I have a feeling it's not going to be in, and it's not going to show up as transparency. But what was it? Material? It was a material stream is what it was. It was a fantastic material stream he did that covers pretty much exactly what you're looking for. He showed how to use a sphere mask and how to set up what you're looking for. Basically, having walls and things like that disappear based on what's there. Now, this is the basic setup. Someone else has done something more advanced, and you would you could do the same thing, except anything it affects, you could just change the alpha to something other than 0. This is gonna be a problem. This is gonna be hard to find, isn't it? Okay, I guess we got to go by this by hand. Live training. Okay, so it's definitely not under live training because that really doesn't help. This is just a group of live training videos. Where's the individual? Where's it's all of them. I'm looking for the live stream queue. Where's the live stream playlists? Did they get rid of the live stream playlist? Okay, GDC, Sizzle Reel, Mobile, Highlights, Preview, Jam Winners, Drag and Drop, Match Game, MOBA, Cinematics, E3, Multiplayer. I'm not creating. Well, maybe there's a little more. Okay. But none of these look... Oh, community tutorials, that doesn't help. Twitch live streams. Okay, maybe it'll be in here somewhere. Hopefully these are sorted appropriately. Of course I have to find it, which doesn't help. And it wasn't named appropriately. But I want to say it was less than a year ago. This is always fun, going through just videos trying to find stuff. I don't see it. And the problem is I don't know what it was called, so the search feature is not going to help, obviously. I want to say it was an Alan Noon video, and I know literally exact. Oh, there we go. Depth and location based effects. I'm 96% sure this is it. There we go. Oh, Alan Willard. See, I knew it was an Alan. Let's see if he shows us. Yep, this is the one we're looking for. Okay, yeah. Because you'll notice right here as the stream starts, you'll see how the effect is occluding, well, not occluding, basically peeling back part of the area around the player. So once he sets it up, there's no stupid... Why is there no mouse overs on this? There we go. You can see you have the walls basically doing that effect that we're talking about. Yeah, when the camera's being blocked or something like that. So look at this stream right here. I'll toss this into YouTube. This is the one I'd recommend watching. It covers things like the world position and the sphere mask and things like that. You can see right there. See how, yeah, if we go back to it, it would have been nice to see. He covers when it goes back into it. When the camera goes through something, it'll go ahead and basically clip out the item it's going through, as you can see there. And then also, this item itself is casting a mask that's destroying the things around it visually. That's what I'd recommend watching. Other than that, if you still have trouble, let me know. But that's probably the best start. That basically applies a radius around the player, or you could even do it around the camera, and you could have it visually destroy what's around that area, so that way you can see through it. That's your best bet. Okay. And of course, I forgot to hit the button that starts Twitter. Of course. Forgot to tweet. It's been a day where I just literally forgot what I was doing. And my tweet's gone? Seriously? This is a horrible, horrible day. I'm losing stuff at random at this point. Oh, and it's back. Okay, so not only did I lose it at random, it came back at random. Seriously? Okay. Tweet is done. We're only 17 minutes behind on the tweet, but we got it done. Let's go back to the MMO project. We can close down the playground. Hopefully that helped out the person, and I'll let him know. Good news on the MMO project was, with our stream on Wednesday, we were able to finally narrow down the fact that it's the dedicated server having the issue. And I gave that information to the plugin developer once we finally tracked that down. And he thinks it probably has something to do with putting it on the other thread and then destroying the other thread on the dedicated server. So he's aware of it. Hopefully he'll be working on that. However, that doesn't help us who actually want to work on this. So I chatted with some people, see if we could figure out something to do. And rather than rewriting a ton of stuff, because I really did not want to rewrite a ton of stuff, I thought that would be super annoying. What we came to the conclusion of was, since this is only a test, this is a learning project, this is a slice, this is not something you would put into production, we can take some liberties with what we're going to do. So what I've done is I've changed it from before the socket server, so our connection between the player and the database server was on the dedicated Unreal Engine server side. So that way we had total authority and we could prevent hacking. That was the goal of that. However, since we can't do it that way, we've basically switched the Socket.io plugin to the client, the unsafe way. But this is under the assumption that we know it's unsafe, because technically anyone could intercept that data when it goes from the client to the database server and modify it and then allow the data to take bad data. The database server to take bad data. So we know this is the unsafe way of doing it, but for our project to go forward, for now, until the bug gets fixed, we can still use it. And the nice thing is there's not a ton of code changes we had to do. For the most part, this used to be authority switch. Now it's a remote switch for adding our component and setting up our component. So I'm doing this on the client instead of the server now. And then anytime we needed to do something, so in this case, load stats on server, these things for the most part are no longer on the server. So before, this used to be a server event, now it's a client event. And when it listens for it, so we wait for it to come back, all of this stuff is the same. It's just simply going to receive the data on the client. The problem is when we receive it on the client, because of the way the server-client relationship works, no one else knows about it, not even the server. So we just have to do an extra node, so an extra function basically, to tell the server what the new values are properly. It's a little bit of extra work for now, but the nice thing is once this bug gets fixed, all we have to do is turn our calls from a client call back to a server call and then unhook any of our replication, our stuff that's forcing the server to have the new data. So it will be unsafe for a bit, but at least we can continue working and we can still use the newest stuff. Harry, have you figured out synchronous server calls at all? I don't think so. I haven't really done much except try to get this stuff working. Someone with a bunch of letters in their name. What is the stream about? We are working on, like we have been for a while now, a small little vertical slice of a minorly multiplayer online game. So we're basically doing a MMO, but very small, and it's to learn the dedicated client server system in Unreal Engine. It's to learn some node scripting for our database server, which is done in Mongo. So that way we can try to just put a bunch of stuff together into one project. Right now, I don't know what we're working on today because I haven't figured that out. Yesterday we got some UI stuff finished and it's finally working. So I think we might have a small bit of UI cleanup because I still have no indicator that you're targeting anything. And then we'll move on to something else like our inventory system and our loot system, which I'm still hoping to get to. Let's see. Tudis has a question. Server doesn't see the client's line trace, but the client sees the server trace. Everything works in the character blueprint. Okay, so let's see what he has here. Let's see if I can look at this. I've got to change like my default Edge home screen to Google or something. So let's see. Server doesn't see the client's line trace. So I don't see a line trace here. So let's open up. I've got a couple other pictures here. So we'll do this. Gotta love the fact that YouTube doesn't like people putting URLs, and I have no way of disabling it as far as I can tell, because I don't mind URLs, to be honest. Okay, so here's 3 screenshots. So here's our line trace, which is a multicast event, which you should probably not be doing, I would assume, because this is basically going to tell the server version of your character and the character version of your character to run the line trace, which is probably pointless. Okay, and his question is, the server doesn't see the client's line trace. The server shouldn't care about the client's line trace. I mean, basically, what are you trying to do? Would be the better question. What is the goal for this? Let's see, start fire. It calls fire stop. Okay, so we call fire. So is that going to be in here somewhere? Okay, so fire will run on the client. And it's going to probably do some sort of firing, it looks like. And it fires off a line trace. Line trace in the weapon. Okay. Which I'm guessing is right here. Then the weapon, which is the local weapon, is going to grab its owner, basically. And run a server, which is an RPC call. That's multicast, so it'll run this back in the character. Which character are we talking to here, though? Should be the local character. Okay, which is no, run server is in the main weapon. Yeah, right here. Okay, which means it's going to be the local version of the weapon. Right, now it's going to be the server version of the weapon. Okay. And then we do the multicast line trace. This is going to spawn something locally and on the server. And then spawn an explosion. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing the line trace go to the server unless I'm confused. Start fire. This runs on the client and runs fire. Fire runs this, runs through a sequence. This is still all on the client and runs line trace, which is still on the client. This line trace is on the client. This is not on the server. And then line trace grabs its local version of its character, tells it to run server, which is a multicast. Wait, why does this say reliable replicate to server? And this version says, oh, because you typed it in multicast, even though it's not. Wait a minute. Oh, run server. Here we go. Okay, the server. Gotcha. Okay. So the server takes the information, then runs the multicast line trace. So now at this point, we should be on the server version of the gun. That's just code everywhere. And then this runs. I'm assuming this is a replicated multicast because it says executes on all. Okay. So what are we trying to do here? I guess is the issue. You have a lot of stuff being done here. Multicast for the most part. I mean, what are we trying to do? I think is the question. And is your weapon blueprint properly replicated to the server and other clients? Might be a question as well. Well, to do damage later, I understand to do damage, but I mean, what's the goal of this stuff? I mean, you press the fire button and it calls the fire event on the main weapon, and it calls this locally. So your client version of your player is going to call this. And then it's going to call here, it's going to go through your sequence, it's eventually going to delay. I guess this is for starting and stopping. And it's going to check the current ammo, no ammo. If it has ammo, this is all locally, of course, it's going to fire off this line trace node on the weapon, which is, we're already in the weapon itself. Are we in the weapon? Okay, yeah. So this is all inside the weapon. It calls the line trace node. So inside the local weapon, it calls the line trace node. This is going to grab its local player, which in theory should be who owns it. Well, you're saying the only problem is the server doesn't see what the client does. I understand that, but I don't understand what we're doing is my problem. I'm trying to walk through it now. So the local weapon grabs its player, grabs its camera, figures out a location for the start and stop really, really far away, and sends that to the run server on the weapon, which is a server version of the weapon. So now our server version of the weapon should call run server. Well, yeah, if you leave the same code in the character blueprint and it doesn't work in the weapon, the only thing I can think of is your weapon isn't replicated. But I don't know what you mean by it doesn't work. I mean, that the definition of it doesn't work doesn't help. You don't get something spawning. You don't get a sound spawning. You're not getting the right data. You're not getting the line trace to give you the correct data. You're not getting the right start and stop. The server's not receiving the call. What's the actual issue here? Because at this point, this does a multicast for the line trace. The server, and how do you know the server doesn't see any line traces? How are you debugging that? Because this line trace should be fired off by both the server and the client, providing the correct information is passed in, from what I can tell here. And then your client, then an issue you're going to have here is, as far as I can tell, you should end up with multiple sounds and explosions. No, Harry, I'm pretty sure he's using a listen server based on the previous stuff I have. Okay, draw debug. So you're talking about our line trace doesn't show it here on the server? Is that our issue? So like you're on your client, your client's firing it and you see the debug line, but on your server you're not seeing the debug line. Because it seems like it should work, assuming your server has this weapon properly set up and attached. Yeah. Unless I'm missing something here, it seems a little bit redundant. When the server fires, he sees the line trace. So our server is also technically our client 1. And that makes sense because it's firing it off on the client, which seems to be your issue. So when the client fires. The client sees him firing, but the server doesn't. Okay, so... Okay, this is what I'm trying to figure out. So you have your listen server, player 1, and then your client, player 2. When your listen server over here pushes his fire button, he sees a line trace on his screen coming from his character, and then the other person sees a line trace on his screen coming from the server's character. You end up seeing 2 line traces on 2 different games, basically. Technically, it's the same line trace, but not really. So you see a green line trace coming from this machine over here, and a green line trace, you also see it on this machine. Because the code itself seems really weird in the first place because you're calling a multicast. The client probably doesn't need any of this information. It just needs to know what happened and then to do something appropriately. But I could be wrong on that one because I technically haven't gotten quite to this stuff yet. I understand. I mean, but you got to keep in mind, you have a lot of stuff set up differently, and you have some things maybe not the same. But to answer that, I need that. If you can answer the question, when you have your listen server and then your client, and your listen server fires, it shows the green line trace. Does the client show that green line trace as well coming from the server's character? Yes. Okay, so you said yes. So if you reverse it, if you are on the client and you push the fire button, your local character, you can see the line trace, but the server doesn't show a line trace on the other character. You've got to keep in mind... okay. So... It may be working as expected. The question, ignoring the fact you don't see the line trace, what actually happens is what counts. Do you get other things to happen? Do you get the spawning of the sound and the blueprint explosion on that other machine? On the server, for example. And if not, you need to backtrace and figure out where the problem's coming from. At this point, I don't think there's much I can really help you with directly. Mainly because this code is... okay, so... I mean, there's a lot of issues here. The biggest thing is, for example, this is firing out on the client. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. But at this point in time, the client should pass this information to the server and tell the server that the client has fired. The problem being, in this part right here, the client is telling, as far as I know the client, let's see, I'll make sure I'm not crazy here. Yeah, you're still in the client. The client is telling the server at this point where the line trace should start and end. So there's no reason someone couldn't come in, for example, and hack this endpoint to be somewhere else, or the start point somewhere else, to basically change where this firing line trace is coming from. And then the server is just going to accept this as truth. So when it gets to this point and the server fires off its line trace, it's going to possibly have bad information. As far as I know, basically the way it should work is you start your firing, the client triggers the event basically. It tells the server, hey, the client has fired. then your server will handle everything, because your server should have everything it needs. It knows where the camera's at. It knows where the character's at. It knows all that information. So all this code that you do here, you should be able to pull on the server side, and you're doing it on the server version, because you care where the server's at. You don't care where the client's at. And then the server takes its version of the actor. It fires off the line trace based on its version of the actor's information, and then it does whatever appropriately based on the hit. And then that information is then transferred back to the server, or replicated back, depending on how you want it set up, to play back the spawning or the hit or the recoil or any animation you have, stuff like that. Anything that's for appearance sake only, you run on the client. Anything that's could be detrimental to the game, killing a player, assigning damage, should all be run on the server, and the server just tells the client what happened, and then the client does something. But the server itself controlled all the stuff that happened. So I would think I would try basically turning this into a server event immediately when you fire, and then have the server handle all of your line traces. That's kind of what we do now, as far as I know. And hello everybody, so hopefully we can go back to this. Right now, when we do our attacking, if we can figure out what I did with our attacking, say we are, let's see, where do we put this? Begin play, toggle auto attack. So like here, for example, when our player does the auto attack, which of course I have no freaking clue where I put it. Here we go. Right when we hit the toggle auto attack on our client, oh, I'm printing a string, but right after we hit the auto attack button, we are immediately telling our server that we toggled the auto attack. And then our server checks everything, checks to see if we're currently attacking. If so, turns it off. If not, it does the auto attack. And the server is doing all of our stuff at this point in time. None of this stuff is on our client. Our server is doing everything. Checking for the damage, calculating the damage, checking for a target, applying damage to the monster on the server, because this is a server only call, setting our timers, everything on the server version. And then anything that we care about, the player's health and things like that, are all replicated using replication or replication notify to update the client versions of what happened. So really quickly, Endo, you know what, Ryan? I don't have... I'm not playing Persona right now, but I can throw on the Persona soundtrack if you would like. We can do that. So I have three. We'll throw on Persona 4. Yeah, there we go. So there you go. I've got the Persona soundtrack on now. That should at least make you happier. So let's check out our server. Let's see where we ended at and go from there. So right now, with everything working, let me stop this and load it up in a different window so we can actually see it. Here we go. We have this is stuff we had issues with last time. We have our stuff set up. Our dedicated server is our first connection. Our client here is our second connection. That's where we see 2 connections here, and then 1 when I disconnected. It'll disconnect after a second. It'll load the map up. It'll reconnect ourselves up, and we're now on the client. So if we hit attack, our attack should still work properly. They'll die. We have our proper coins 80. I accidentally overrided all my coins when I was testing. And we should have coins 90. So all that data is being replicated properly. Oh, man, it's not resizing it. Didn't that work the other? Oh, probably not in here, huh? Oh, that's weird. Okay. So that is our client running here. And it's connected. And then if we go to our game itself, so Explorer. This is the other thing that stopped working. For some reason, my stage builds folder stopped working completely. And I have no idea why. It just stopped working. Super annoying. Here we go. So if we start up the built version of our livestream MMO. So this is the other one. You'll notice we now have 3 things connected. And we can log in with our other character. And this is where we're having the issue before, where it would crash. Which it looks like it's crashed again. Well, son of a gun. Oh, look, we crashed it. So that should not be happening. Why is it that every time I say something should be working right, we end up figuring out how to make it not work right? So let's kill that. Let me rebuild everything just to be safe. Oh, look, I crashed the engine that time. That's pretty spectacular. Okay, so far we are 40 minutes into our stream. We've helped out we've been able to do about 1.5 things I want to do, and we've been able to successfully not do anything else. I swear that when I tested this yesterday, it was working without any issue, and I could not get it to crash. So I don't honestly know why, once I start streaming, we manage to get this thing to crash every time. And the sucky thing is it's crashing in stuff I don't have control over. It's crashing in our plugin. If it crashes again, I'll work around it, but I'm just going to rebuild just to be safe. Okay, so our rebuild is good. We'll start up our node server. It's reconnected. We'll start up... Oh, wait. Wait, why did our... Oh, did our Mongo database crash? Oh, I crashed our Mongo database too. Wow, I managed to crash everything. Not just one thing, everything. That's pretty damn impressive, to be honest. Okay, let's start up our live stream again and see if we can get this to crash again, because why not? Nope, I've managed to get it to crash completely on the first time at this point. That's pretty damn impressive. Huh. Okay, well, for anyone who actually wanted to see us doing stuff today, I literally have no idea what I've done wrong. We have our users connecting, but I can no longer connect to our game world anymore. Ha! And I swear, I swear, everything worked perfectly fine when I tested this the other day. And I think I know what's causing the problem. And I think at this point in time, the actual project is bugged. I'm starting to get that feeling. We can still work today. I think. What the? There we go. This is where the, yeah, see how it's working without a problem? Oh, you know what? Okay, you know what? We're just gonna work in here, inside the editor. I don't know why the built version is crashing. I have a feeling I know why, but I'm not gonna work on debugging it right now. There's something weird with my project. I think I need to move everything out of here and redo it. If you'll notice, when I built that project, it's updating a target file to today's date, but the actual executable files, for whatever reason, aren't being built out properly, and I don't know why. And the problem is our DLL file, which is our main file that controls everything, is not being properly built out. Yeah, no, not a big deal. Not a big deal. We'll work in the editor. I apologize again. I don't like when this stuff happens, because we went like 2 weeks without any issues, then all of a sudden we started getting issues. There's no reason any of this stuff should be happening. It literally works without any issue when I am not, well, I should rephrase that. Not without issue, but I managed to successfully get a completely stable build on Monday after the live stream without any problems. And then now, as you can see, I managed to get a completely unstable build 2 days later without touching the project once. So let's let it build the server back out, and then we'll reconnect. And we'll go from there. Yeah, for some reason our DLLs are not being written properly. All of these files up until last week were being built out properly in our staged build folder, which is in here. You'll notice there's no more staged build folder. For some reason, my staged builds are no longer building themselves. It's building everything right into my finished folder. And I don't know why. There's no information on the internet that I can find out why the stage folder stopped working. It just simply literally stopped working. It was one of those things where it was like, screw you, I'm going home. So where we're at, so we'll just work on this for now. We'll just work in here. Where we're at is we can still log in and all that stuff. We have our character moving, we have our stats. We got that fixed the other day, so that was nice. And we can attack, and we have all that stuff. So my biggest issue is I didn't have any indicator. I want to finish this up so we can move on. When I target something, there's no indicator that I have something targeted. So in this case, which wolf do I have targeted? So I just wanted to see if we could do a nice little change to the character. We're just going to go to our, let's see, our monster. We want our monster card. So where did we put that at? It should be in here, right? Yeah, monster overhead widget. We're just going to, let's see, update monster mana, toggle has aggro. We're going to change this. I like this code, but this is not going to be toggle has aggro anymore. It basically flashes when it has aggro. We're going to disconnect this for now. We're going to leave this unconnected. We're not going to do anything with it. Or, okay, let me do something. Custom event, toggle has target. Toggle is target. I'm trying to think of ways of visually doing this. And we're going to is target. We'll do the same thing we did here. What I think I'm going to do is, let's see. So let's have a new variable original. Actually, can we just we can probably strip. Let's see if we can do this without storing the original name. I think we can strip is what we're going to do. We'll do a little bit of text manipulation. Get text. So this will grab the text that we have. So this is the text that's already in our name block. If we're toggling it as our target, no, because we're going to want to set, just in case we make, we might make a mistake here. So we're going to go ahead and store the original name to be safe. We'll save it in text format. So let's see. Update monster name, set text. Set the original name. I'll show you what I'm talking about in terms of an issue here. There we go. We're just gonna, when we set the name, we're gonna store that as the original name of the monster, in case we want to go back to it later. Because what we're going to do is we're going to set the text of the monster based on if we have it targeted or not. That should probably be like that. There we go. Move this back. Stop it. Back to here like this, and we'll do that. So we're gonna grab, we'll just do format text, and we're gonna do, let's see, this is if it doesn't have a target. Okay, if it doesn't have a target, then we just need the original name. And if it is the target, we're going to do name, and then dun. Just give it a little bit of a visual indicator that it is the target. There we go. Now the reason why I was wanting to store the original name is because my thought process is we could always strip this stuff from the beginning, which is easy enough with like a string replace or a string remove. The problem is, what if we accidentally somehow untarget it but never call this? It might keep the old name, and then it might bug out, because then we're going to end up removing things, and it's probably smarter just to save the name just for saving certain purposes. Okay, so we'll do that. Now when we target the monster, we'll just update our UI. So where is our code for targeting? Here we go. So let's find our target code. It shouldn't be this one, right? No, this is our check for valid target, which we've never done. This is our honor. Okay, so this is when our current target changes right here. We're doing this locally. We are updating the target card. We are seeing if we have a valid target. And then we are casting it to the monster. So this is where we check the monster. And then we are telling the monster we want to... blah, 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 blah. Okay, for the love of Pete. This is where we're telling the monster that we want to listen. So where is our code where we update is if it's aggro? That's what we care about. Update health, update target mana. I'm trying to steal code right now. In case anyone's wondering, I simply want to steal code because we have code that works. Right now we have code that talks to the monster when we aggro it. So I want to find that code, and I want that code to be used because it works. I just don't remember what we called it. Here we go. Auto attack, valid target, calculate damage, set timer, do auto attack, check it and validate. So where do we... Is it in the monster when the monster takes damage? Is that what it is? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's see. Event graph. Where is our... Here we go. I need to... Okay, I'm going to name these right now. Hold on a second. And I don't think I spelled begin play right. Oh, I spelled begin play. Yeah, we need more. We need more... comment sections in here. Let's see. So this is event destroyed. And what do we got here? This is any damage. Do that. Any damage. Okay. Pretty sure it's in here. Grab something on the aggro table. Force leave. Toggle. Notify listeners. Destroy actor. Okay. At this point in time, does anyone remember where I am turning on the aggro indicator? I'm not kidding. I lost it. Here's our overhead widget. Here's the code that we call toggle. Oh, I can probably just do find references, but that's just less fun. When we replicate the aggro table is when we toggle has aggro. That makes sense. That does make a little bit of sense. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so that makes sense. So basically when our aggro table is being replicated, so this is whenever our aggro table changes, we go ahead and we turn aggro on or off on the characters. That makes sense. And that's also why it doesn't work when we shut it off, because we never remove the aggro. Okay, so we set that up properly. I just didn't actually... we set that up properly. I just couldn't remember where we put it. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. So this, let's see, this is our overhead widget. So this is the overhead widget on the monster. And then we grab the widget object, we cast it, and then we call our code. Okay. So somewhere in our monster, do we want to somehow call this? We need to be able to talk to the monster, grab its widget, and go from there. That's what I was trying to figure out. So where's the appropriate place to put this? This is an indicator if we have it targeted. So this should probably only be in the player whenever we target something. That's my thought process. So it's probably here. So we'll replicate our current target is what we'll do. So if we're replicating our current target locally, and it's locally controlled, we're going to change its UI. So this updates the local target card. This updates the monster base stuff. So this is our monster base that we are targeting. So let's go ahead and put the code over here. We'll put it in two different places. Is not valid means we want to go ahead and remove it. Yeah, see, how's that going to work when we change our target? Shoot. Crap. The reason I'm saying crap is we need to keep track of what our current target is so we can tell that current target it is no longer the current target. But the problem is this code is called when the current target changes. That's where our problem is. This code, basically, the server has been notified of a target change, and this is the new target at this point in time. So this would be fine for switching to the new target. The problem is we have no way of knowing what the old target was. So that's an issue. So let me put another code in here. And let's figure out what our valid target. So here is our code that we're using for our mouse button down. Checks to see if we have a current target. Checks if a monster. Unbinds. Unbinds. So this is where we are removing our current target. Right here. And then over here is where we are seeing if it's targetable, and then setting the current target on the server to our new one. So this right here is probably a good spot, I'm thinking. Right here is where we set the current target. So let's change our set current target code. I think that would be a smart place to do it. So we're going to go with the old target, and we're going to change this to new target. There we go. So that way, when the targets change, we can keep track of the old target and the new target, and then we can pass that information around as we need to. I think that would be a place to do it. I like that. Okay, cool. So our new target and then our old target is going to be our current target. So this should be easy enough. Whoop, that's current weapon. There we go. And then we do the set with notify of the current target. And then we can probably just, easy enough, we will put a new variable in here and we'll call it old target or last target. There we go. And this will give us the data we need. And we'll make sure that is replicated. And what we're going to do is, I will do rep notify. We'll split this into two different things. I like rep notify. It's fun. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, cool. That'll allow us to split things up properly. And then, let's see, last target. We'll set our last target like that. Yeah, I think this is a good way of doing it. It gives us a little more flexibility. It gives us two events to work on. Does the old target itself know that it was a target? No, the targets themselves never know that they're targeted. I'm not doing that. That would probably be smart, though, or a good way of approaching this. If the old targets knew they were targeted, but I can't think of any way to... I can't think of any reason we might use that. That's why we never set it up like that. Also, how the hell did I create 3 friggin... What in the hell? I have no idea how I did that. Huh. That's super duper weird. I don't know how I put a new pin in there. Anyways, okay. So anyways, that's hooked back up. Okay, cool. So here's our set with notify. So this is our new target. So what we're going to do is just add some code to the end here. Here is the monster we're talking to. Here's the code I copied. So now we just get the overhead widget. Right here. And then plug it back into here. And this will basically grab our widget. And then the thing we set up was the toggle is target. And this is target. So we'll do that. We'll grab these things like this, copy this code out. This should set it as a target now whenever we are getting a valid target. And then if we go in here, we should have a new on rep for last target. And this will allow us to talk to our last target. So we'll grab our last target. And our last target's an actor, so we're going to need to cast to... oh, crap. Well, for now, this is going to fail miserably. Well, this isn't going to fail miserably. This is going to be an example of doing something stupid. this is only going to work on monsters at this point in time. So if we have a NPC targeted, for example, this is not going to work. We need to break this out into a much, whoops, not a target anymore. We need to break this out into a better, blah, 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 blah. Oh, for Pete's sake, a better way of doing this, probably using interfaces. But I think this will work for now. So whenever we have a last target, whenever the last target is set, that means our last target is... Our current target is now a last target, so a target has changed, so we'll go ahead and just remove it. We'll do that. Yeah, so we'll do that. I also think we might have an error, now that I'm thinking about it, where do we ever check to see if our new target is different than our current target? And you can actually see we don't. So now that we have a last target, we can actually, this is good. Now that we have a last target, we can go ahead and put in our logic to prevent ourselves from running any of our code if our target didn't change. So that's good. So now we can check and see if let's see. So we're going to check and see. So we'd have to do that. Where would we run that at? Because we need that from our line trace. So we fire off, this fires off our line trace right here. Okay, so actually it's not there that I wanted to put it. It was over here. So right here we go. So we don't want to call any of this stuff if it doesn't change is what we want to do. Cool. So targetable. Okay, so we're going to want to do it. Where's the smartest place to do it? I guess we do it after we hit something would be the smartest place to do it, right? We hit something, so do our check right here. So if the actor we hit is currently equal to our current target, so we already have something targeted, we have hit that something, and it's, well, we've already have something targeted, and what we have targeted is what we already have targeted, then we're going to want to do nothing. We already have that target. And I'm going to do a print string right here to test it. Oh, for the Pete's sake, print string. Same target, doing nothing. Okay, let's try that. Let's see, Kazume. Mobile touch input count as click, click, and drag, or it's completely different, should be handled differently. It depends on how you have it set up as far as I know. Two things. You have the options in your project settings, I want to say. Yeah, here we go. Input. And you have use mouse for touch. So there's that option, which basically allows your mouse to be used as a touch. So if you click the mouse, it can simulate touches. The other one is, I'm pretty sure any touch is treated as a touch event on the input handler. I don't believe they're touch. I believe only the mouse is counted as a click. And a mouse type input, so a touchpad counts as a click as well. A normal touch on a device, a mobile touch, for example, I believe only counts as touch. I've only used mobile once, is all I can say. But as far as I know from my experience, touch registered devices count as touches, and click registered devices count as clicks. So, for example, a Windows tablet counts as a touch if you're using the multi-touch interface. It doesn't count as a click. I can't really give you any more information besides that because I honestly have not spent much time with touch. Okay, let's kill our server, build our server, figure out why our server doesn't like us while we build out everything. Okay, server, thank you. Let me close down. I apparently had Steam running, which I have no idea why. Yeah. From my experience so far, Kazame, it's whether it's treated internally as a input touch or an input mouse. I think they call them mouse events, mouse input devices. But I know my tablet comes back as a touch, which is super annoying. Yeah, it's Windows devices. If the developer doesn't properly handle it, Windows, especially Windows 8 and above, handle it as touch input, not keyboard input. Mouse input. I believe I want to say Windows 7 and below treated most touch inputs as mouse inputs. But with 8 and above, it started treating them as actual touch inputs. And then the developers had to design them properly, and the engines had to design them properly. Which is why a lot of the older games don't work when you use your mouse or when you use your fingers, because they don't count as mouse clicks. It sucks. It's really annoying. Most of your newer engines work fine, like Unreal and Unity, but they have to be set up properly to work it properly. Okay. Maybe if this works, we'll have a proper character. There we go. Cool. Okay, cool. I'm getting a crashing error on the server, but I'm pretty sure I know why. But on the okay, so on the client side, this is working. If you guys can see that, that's actually exactly what I was hoping for. You can see it shows me who I have targeted. And we can see it's working exactly like we had hoped. However, okay, it says hello. However, we're getting this lovely bit of spam inside of our server. Our server is not happy because we are trying to... let's see. So our last target, we are trying to... Let's see. So we call last target, set current target on server. We are... So we need to figure out what's causing this. And then the 8-shot. Feel free to ask anything. The best I can do is try and answer. Nothing's really ever booked up. We just work on stuff while we're bored. So let me figure out what's causing that. So that's going to be the on-rep last target inside of our MMO character. So let's find our character. We have one of two things causing this issue, and I don't really know which one it is. On-rep last target inside the character, set current target on server. See, because we have set current target. See, so this is set current target, on-rep last target. Yeah, so this is failing. Oh, ha. I wonder if it's failing because I have these I have these in a really crappy order. I'm pretty sure we should be setting our last target first and then setting our current target second. I bet you that would be a smarter way of doing this. So let's try that. Let's see if that fixes our really stupid error. Because if I walk through this properly, so set the current target on server, it's going to pass in our hit actor as our new target, and our current target is our last target. And that information is passed in from the client. Then our server to the server, and then the server is going to set the last target properly, and then it's going to set the current target. Okay, let's see if that works. It's a lot easier just to randomly start doing stuff and see what works. Let's see. Harry, yes, I could do a selection circle. There's a lot of stuff we could do. Right now, I want to get something in there to work. Of selection circles, a visual thing, we should probably switch to that at some point. 8 shot. Working on a level where the seasons change. I've used a grass output in the material, but I can't figure out how to get the grass to despawn during winter. Man, I wish... Man, I'm not a material person. So, I'm assuming you're using foliage for your grass? That would be my thought. Yeah, I'm assuming you're using the foliage system, and can you get the foliage? Can you get the foliage on the terrain at runtime? That's basically what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to get the foliage that's currently on. Well, there has to be a way of doing that because people, is it instances? What is it? There has to be a way of doing this. Because you can interact with them. People have things like Conan Exiles where you can destroy trees and stuff like that. People have burn systems in place. Let's see. It's got to be a way. Oops. Let's see, foliage at runtime. UE4. Really? That is not helpful. If you create it at why don't we just do destroy? I guess one word. Let's see. Because we can place it, so that's not an issue. But how do we get to it? Choose lines to create a script to reduce the need for level designers. I think I ran into an Unreal Engine 3 forum. Well, that was kind of an accident. Landscape grass type. Okay. That's different. Yeah, because that's part of the material. Ugh. Because I know you can do it with the normal foliage tool. Unfortunately, 8-shot, I wish I knew. I'm going to be honest here. I wish I had an answer to this. Probably because of the way you have it set up. Because if you used instance foliage, you can grab the stuff that you've put into the scene. And then you could destroy it all. So that wouldn't be too much of an issue. The problem is you're using, if you're using the, oh my gosh, like Cosme's bringing up, the landscape grass type, I believe that's part of the material is what it is. But, you know what, I don't think I can... As much as I'd like to be able to give you the answer to that one, 8-shot, I don't think I can. I haven't used landscapes or landscape materials enough. But as just a general thought, if you're using the grass, oh my gosh, my brain is like trying to figure this out at the same time I'm trying to talk. If you're using the landscape grass type, so I'm assuming you're not doing a foliage in here, you're using it as part of the material. If your material is defining where the grass is, for example, then it sounds like you should be able to define what is done in the material. Set up a parameter in the material to change that, and then just have it drawn or not. I don't know the answer. I wish I did. But I'm not a material person, unfortunately. And landscape grass material gives me some sod, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. No, it's not your incompetent. I'm not a material person. Materials are, God, they drive me friggin' nuts. But because here's our landscape. So you're using something like this, right? And it's got for grass and things like that. But what if you if you're using something like if you're doing it in the material and you're not using like the foliage system, and you're doing it in the material for when it's going to show your grass and stuff like that, and you have things set up with the different foliage types, I would assume you should have you should be able to, if like they're mentioning, you can do an opacity parameter. But what if you just use an if parameter where a switch or an if, and you either displayed it or you didn't do it? So like a switch parameter might work, where the output is either something or nothing. Yeah, I think you're on the right track, 8shot. It might just be a small bug. Whoops, I just zoomed in instead of trying to find. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yeah, so that's about all I can do with that one. It's a very good question. Ajinkya, do you have any idea how to get maximum of oscillating float data in Blueprint? So where are you getting your float data? Because if you're like, what's your data? Where's your data coming from, or how are you storing your data? Ajinkya, it's best I can do on that one. And yeah, Kipster, do you know how to rotate something relative to itself? What are you trying to do? I guess would be the question here. Yeah, if statements are good, you could, but probably look for, come on, brain, start working today. I was going to say, the if statement's okay, but what I was actually thinking of, what I meant to say, was you have the switch parameter. And the switch parameter takes in two values. So one value could be your grass input, your grass layer or whatever, and the other one could be nothing. And then your output is going to wherever it is. So that's kind of what I was trying to say. The switch is what I meant to say. So one would be, hey, here's your grass that you want coming in and then going out to something. And the other one is, I don't know, a flat color or nothing going into your grass node. The if node, I always think of the if node when I mention it, but the if node generally, you still need some A's and B's. But the switch is more of an yes or no, true or false. So try the switch parameters, what I was trying to say. Let's see. Imagine a 0G FPS controller. It rotates relative. So if you just, but this is a child of something that you need to rotate. So you would just set the world rotation is what you would do. Grab the current rotation of it and set its new rotation in world relative. It would be my first thought. So for example, like here's our character. Did we ever test this? Let me test this first, because I just realized I didn't test this. Let me see if this worked first. But I would assume it would be the world rotation is what you're looking for. Okay, so we're still getting an error. Whatever I did is horribly, horribly wrong. I don't know where I'm doing it or what I'm doing wrong, but I'm doing something wrong still. I made a solar system. The planets revolve around the sun. User can add planets, give it impulse. When they hit a button, the planet starts revolving the sun. I want no apogee. Okay, so your question was, you have a float which updates every tick, and the float is oscillating between two values. I want the maximum and the minimum of the oscillating float. You'd have to just make a simple. If you want the maximum and the minimum for an oscillating float, you just need to do it as a simple check. Whenever the float changes, so your make literal float. So like your float comes in as a change. So here's your new float value. Just check and see if it's greater. You can always do a compare node and then compare it with maybe the other one. So for example, I'm making literal so I don't have to make new variables here. Max, current max, new value. So like your new value comes in and the current max value, you're comparing them. And then if your new value is greater than the current value right here, then you would set the current max to the new value. And then you could just have this run two different compares, one for the greater than and one the less than. You don't have to use a compare. You could just do a less than and an if, for example. But you would have to do it manually. Basically, take it whenever it comes in, store it, and go from there. The other option is you can stuff it into an array. So, for example, you have a float array. And this array is simply, you have a new value coming in, it adds it to the array. And after you do that, you can grab a max or you can grab a min of float array. And you just store the last, 10 values, 20 values, 100 values. Store your values as they come in, get rid of them if it's too much. You use this array to hold numbers. And then you can check for the max and the min and then go from there. And this will give you the max and the min of the last X amount of values. So if you wanted to do the max and the min of the last 100 values, just store the last 100 values in there, for example. It just depends on how you want it set up. But there's no way to keep track of the max and the min without putting some form of code in it. Either stuff it into like a group of numbers and grab the max and the min, or just do that manual check like I was showing. The new number comes in. Is it bigger than the old max? If so, set this as the new max. Is it smaller than the old minimum? If so, set it as a new minimum, and then continue on. And then that gives you your maximum minimum updated every time. One of those two ways would basically be how you'd have to do it. So the rotating. So the question for that one was rotate something relative to itself. You basically, if you set the world rotation, it should rotate on itself. That is the relative version. So in this case, let's grab our playground. I think we're done for the day with the live stream. I'll try to fix that on later, but I'm at an hour and a half for the live stream, so I'm going to work on wrapping this down. But let's see if we can get this playground question working. So for example, let's say we have a new level here, and rotate self, we'll slap him in here like that. This should, we'll figure it out. Math is not my strong suit, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue. So we have a static mesh, we have another static mesh. So we have a couple static meshes parented to each other. I shouldn't have done static meshes, but I'm going to anyways. And then we'll do a sphere, and then we'll grab him, and we'll move him over here. That's probably not the way we want to do it. Let's flip this, because having the sphere rotate isn't really going to be very helpful. So in this case, if we wanted to, what you're trying to do is we have like this cube here, and rather than have the cube rotate around the player like that, you want the cube to rotate on itself no matter what. So if it's here, it's going to rotate. If it's here, it's still going to rotate. Whoops. There we go. You want it to rotate like that, basically. You want the individual item to rotate independent of everything else. It should work if you do the world rotation, as far as I know, because that grabs the rotation of the item in the world and then rotates it. So like if we grabbed our static mesh 1, which should be our cube, yep. Let's rename these. Cube. Sphere. I also apparently put a little tilde on the end of that. There we go. So if we grabbed our cube and we get the world rotation, this should give our current world rotation. And if we add rotation, so we want to add world rotation to our cube. Whoops, we want to add rotation. So let's see. Actually, if we just did this, this should hold on a second. Let's see what happens if we do this, shall we? Yeah, so that is, yeah, so adding world rotation should work for what we want. We probably want what? One on the Z, on the X? No, don't want the X, I want the Z. There we go. I hate numbers. That's what I was trying to get right there. So I mean that gives us rotation in the world relative of what the child is, or relative of where his parent is. So if we grab this and did this, it should still, yeah, it's going to rotate like that. Now, if you want to rotate in the world, you've got to figure out what its other rotational values are. So I want to, when I look for up, to move up and down a bit, opposed to just looking left and right relative to the horizon. So, yeah, it's a case of translating between world and local. I'm still trying to get a little bit of thought on this one. Let's say let's pull out our sphere completely, and here's our cube. So you're saying, like, if you rotate it 45 degrees, so let's say we rotated it 45 degrees, like let's say 40 degrees, and then you moved left and right, you'd want to make sure you have the local rotation on to move left and right at this point. So you'd want to rotate it in the world space, so that way it's independent, but you move it in local space. Okay, so here's our cube. Our cube's good. Rotating left and right is this action right here. So we're good, right? I mean, this is rotating in world space and technically in local space at this point, because they're both the same at this point in time. So roll it like this. Okay, so we rolled it a little bit. So roll it 45 degrees. So, okay, so I rotated it 40, oh, just make it even, 45. Oh, stop it. So it's rotated, it's rolled 45 degrees now. And then now rotate it left and right like this. Or are you wanting it rotating it where it's like this? It just depends on if you want it local or world space. I should probably put that back to 0. There we go. I mean, I need, let's grab some eyeballs. Maybe we're using this to fake a person. So let's grab some sphere. W, can I have my W key, please? Thank you. 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Like, this is representative. Oops, we gotta duplicate it over here. So that would be like representative of the front of the object, kind of like a player, a person. And our lights, of course, don't help at all, because why not? Movable. Duplicate. Can I duplicate this really simply and then rotate it? Where's the other one? To give me shadows on the other side. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. Okay. So in this case, let's put him back like this. Here's our little dude looking forward. So let's pretend he's a little dude and he's looking forward. Now you're saying you want to like rotate it 45 degrees. So he's now has a cockeyed head like that. And then you need to make sure that it's rotating in the local space, or do you want it still to rotate in the world space like that? I'm assuming local because the world is just really weird. Yeah. So all you do is just move his head in local space. So in this case, we have, let's see, what is he? I want to make sure he's set to 45. Okay, cool. So let's grab the head and then, let's see. So, but if he's a parent, so what we'd want to do is, where is the node? Let's see if we can find the node. Why do we have, yeah. Oops. I should probably also make these children or else they're going to not be happy. What you want to do is you have something called absolute rotation. And this is whether it should be considered relative to the parent or not. I think we'll have to change that node. I can't remember for sure. And the offset, let's see. Is it the offset node we want? No, because that's not what we want. You want the... Depends if you want to add it or set it. Add it's usually the easiest if you're turning. In this case, and that would be on the... What are we looking at? The Z-axis, right? Yeah, so like we did... Oops, one... Yeah, I mean, that technically isn't what you're looking for, right? What we wanted was him to... No, that was what we wanted, right? Yeah, that was what we wanted, right? That is what we wanted, right? That was the desired goal, right? Where it rotates, where our neck basically rotates. Yeah, then it's the local rotation. But we also have this one as well, which lets us force basically rotation in the world rather than to the parent if we have a parent. But that's probably not what we need. Yeah, add local rotation. I think set local rotation would work too, right? It would help if I dragged it off the cube. I like the adds better. No, that's right. These are relative. Yeah, the relative one. Yeah, you want the... Yeah. So we want... It's local is what we're looking for. And it's just the adds is what it is. Because you can't technically set... Okay, so technically you could set the local rotation. The problem is with the way rotators work, it doesn't like it. Rotators are weird. Very, very weird. Yeah, so if we did this, then we end up not what we want. Right? Yeah, let me try something here. Yeah, see, that doesn't necessarily... What does it? No, that doesn't end up with what we want, right? You know what? You know what's cool about blueprints is we just duplicate and we grab the other one and we'll put it in here like this. And let's see, we're going to put you at the middle, and then we're going to put you at the middle, and then we're going to grab both of you guys, and then we are going to move both of you, let's see, up 150, and then we'll move one of you to the left 100. I guess that wasn't the left, that was the X. So 150 and 150. There we go. Oh, negative 150. There we go. And rotate self 2 will be 45 degrees on the set. Rotate self is going to be 1 on the add local. Like that. That's what I wanted to do. Oops, it would probably help if I actually rotated. Let's see, this one was rotated 45 on the X, so they start off the same. That's what I was trying to do. Those don't look the same, right? Am I crazy? Is it just a shadow thing? No, because this one has bad starting rotation. Okay. Right. Yeah, there we go. Those are the same now. Wow, those do not look the same. Am I crazy? Do these not look the same, or am I just crazy here? 45 rotation, 40... 5 rotation. Well, I guess it's the same. Anyways, now they just look weird to me. Okay, so we'll close the playground up. That's pretty much going to be the stream for today. It's been an hour and a half. I only should have streamed for an hour, but I went for an hour and a half. Hopefully I helped some people out. I do appreciate everyone hanging out. I didn't do much with the live stream. We did manage to get the... See, this is what I was trying to get the stupid thing to do for me. I think I'm going to have to strangle the project over the next couple days. I still have a small bug. I'll fix it off stream. We just have some weird DLL issues here. We'll work on fixing that. I do appreciate everyone hanging out. What Tom says, can you make a tutorial how to destroy enemies, make them fall down on the ground, maybe with some blood on the floor? I actually did that for one of my game jam projects. I can look into doing something simple, something like that for you as time permits. Maybe on Friday, if you're here when I stream Friday. It shouldn't be that difficult though. In general, it is simply determining when you want the enemy to be destroyed. You turn on the ragdoll system. And you assume it's a character. You turn on the ragdoll system, and you can just let the physics drop them to the ground. And then you just do a decal at their location on the ground, and you spawn in your blood effect or whatever that is. If it's not a character or not something that is using physics, then you would play the animation for their destruction. So if they have like a tank that blows up or something like that, and then you do the same thing. So yeah, if you're here on... I haven't worked on that in a little while. I do have a here, let's pull this up. I do have GitHub, and then I have my GitHub, which is linked in the YouTube stream. Somewhere in here, if we find all my repositories, we have the November 2016 jam right here. This is wait, 2016. That was last year, right? Did I name this wrong? Okay, what I meant to say was the 2015 jam. There we go. This is the one I was looking for. The 2015 jam. This is a full project you can pull in. It's freely available. Inside of here, my... the game is designed when the enemies die that they will ragdoll and they will fall to the ground and they will leave something on the ground. So you can look at this for now if you want. It's in my GitHub, which is linked in the YouTube About section. And you can go to the November 2015 jam. If you want to just pull this down, it gives you a fully working game that has a fully working ragdoll enemy dead thingy. If not, remind me on Friday. We'll see if we can knock up just a quick little example of our character ragdolling and a decal going on the ground. Tudis, can you check my project files? Did you send me the project files? I don't see any project files, so I'm guessing you didn't send them to me yet. I can look at them later is about all I can say. I don't see them right now. Stefan, do you have any idea how to make a map for a 2D game? I haven't worked in 2D. The only thing I could think of is there any reason you couldn't do it in 3D? And just have an overhead camera, an orthographic camera, for example? I have not worked enough in... I haven't worked at all in 2D in Unreal Engine. Yeah. So there's nothing I can really do on that one. Let's see. We have... Yeah, I wish I knew. I don't have any experience with the 2D system in Unreal. But there's no reason you can't just use a 3D map and look at it on the top. Tudis is asking if I can look at his project. I can try looking at the project, but if this is the same project as before, we're talking about a couple minutes for you to get it to me, and then we're talking another 10 to download, and then I have to open it up and look at it. I won't be able to do that today. I can look at it off stream. If I can figure out the answer, I will reply back and I'll tell you the answer. If not, we can look at it on Friday, because I do have to wrap this up for today. So on that note, you can catch me on YouTube, on Beam, and on Twitch for streaming. The next stream will be at 10 o'clock Pacific, like it normally is. That's roughly an hour and a half before now. Tomorrow's stream, Epic stream, is going to be about the realistic character rendering system that they, example project that they just put up. So that one should be fun. Other than that, you can leave any comments as you want on YouTube. Try to leave it in the appropriate section. It would be appreciated. Try to help out as best as I can. If there's anything specific I can help you with during the stream, try to catch me at the beginning, and we'll see what we can do and work on it as we can. Other than that, everyone have a good rest of their day. I'll see you if you watch again on Friday. If not, I'll see you whenever. Stream will basically die for about 30 seconds while it works on catching up into past land from Twitch and stuff. So everyone have a good rest of their day.